They no longer will be able to have this on their accounts. But we will find out in the coming months what impact it will have on their business.
Graham, thank you very much. Graham Fraser. Now, Germany's general election campaign is into its final stretch, with voting taking place on Sunday. The European Union's largest economy is holding a snap election triggered by the collapse of Chancellor Olaf Scholz's three-party coalition. Polls suggest the conservative Christian Democrats, led by Friedrich Merz, are on course to be the largest party. He's ruled out working with the hard-right AfD and its leader, Alice Weidel, but the party, which is putting a big focus on immigration, is expected to make significant gains. Let's cross now to my colleague, Sumi Somas, covering the election for us. And Sumi, certainly going to be consequential both within Germany's borders and beyond.
Absolutely, Anita. You know, we have, of course, been looking at some of the big domestic issues that are dominating the campaign here. Number one is immigration. You mentioned the far-right AfD and also the CDU, the Christian Democrats. The Christian Democrats have actually made immigration in the last 3 to 4 weeks one of their main campaign points, one of their main pillars, if you will. And as we know, for the far right, immigration is their central topic. We've also been talking to many voters about the economy, about high energy costs, about education and other issues they're worried about. But this afternoon, we've especially been looking at Germany's role in Europe and the world, and that war in Ukraine, of course. When the war broke out, when Russia invaded Ukraine a few years ago, what happened, of course, here in Germany was that it changed Germany's policy towards Russia and caused Germany to spend much more on defense. Now what we're seeing, of course, is that change in the White House has also impacted Germany. We've seen at the Munich Security Conference, the U.S. Vice President speaking directly to Germany, criticizing Germany for what he called censorship of free speech. So all of that has shaped the debate here in Germany and here in Berlin among those chancellor candidates. We spoke a little bit earlier to Sudha David-Wilp. She's the Vice President of External Relations at the German Marshall Fund. And we asked her specifically about that transatlantic relationship, as it's called here, and the impact that's having on this election.
Well, the two top issues on voters' minds, Sumi, are migration and the state of the economy. And that is certainly linked to the geopolitical challenges that Germany is facing. And of course, the full-scale invasion of Ukraine by Russia accelerated the sort of pressure that Germany has to face challenges when it comes to figuring out how to boost its economy for the next phase of innovation, for dealing with demographic decline, but also making sure that Germany keeps its humanitarian stance in the world when it comes to migration and dealing with anxiety on the part of voters. So I think all these things are intertwined, plus facing an uncertain transatlantic relationship and, of course, China that has not also been very fair when it comes to economic competition vis-a-vis Germany.
Let me ask you a bit more about that transatlantic relationship, because this has been a question that's been asked to the candidates in the last few weeks, in particular, after that speech from the vice president at the Munich Security Conference. How do they see the relationship with the U.S. right now?
Well, Germany is very much dependent on the United States for security, but also, you know, Germany has a relationship with the United States that goes to its founding, its very democracy. You know, the Marshall Plan was what helped Germany and recover from in the post-war period. So I think for Germany, it's clear that the United States has other responsibilities, namely in the Indo-Pacific, but I still think they want to have coordination with the United States, especially because Europe is not up to the task for dealing with its own security by itself yet, but it knows it has to get there. And when it comes to domestic politics, of course, I think across the mainstream parties, there was a clear agreement that, you know, they did not take to having any criticism about its stance vis-a-vis the AfD.
And if you look at the numbers right now, you know, we know that the CDU and Friedrich Merz are far ahead in the polls, but how long will it take to create a government?
Well, Sumi, the one thing we know is that Friedrich Merz, the head of the conservative CDU party, is well positioned to be Germany's next chancellor. The question is whether he will need one junior partner or perhaps two to form a stable majority. We don't know how the small parties will fare during Sunday's vote. If they get in, it will take more than perhaps two partners to have a stable majority in the next German government. The best hope is that Germany forms this government by April, by Easter, because its partners in Europe, the United States, Ukraine, is waiting for strong German leadership role, and that will require a government that's up and running.
It's important to note, of course, as we're hearing about foreign policy and Germany's role in Europe and the world, that this question of peace negotiations in the war in Ukraine, as we've seen in the U.S., President Donald Trump talking about negotiations with Russia, that is weighing heavily on the debate here. As the British Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has floated the idea of British peacekeeping troops, the Chancellor candidates here have been asked the very same question. And interestingly, Friedrich Merz, as we know, very likely to become the next Chancellor, he has not answered that question yet. He said it is too early to tell. We have to see what those peace negotiations hold and what a peace would look like.
Sumi, thank you very much. Sumi Somaskanda in Berlin for us. More from Sumi throughout the day. Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC.